That's better. Hopefully that's better. Hopefully that's good for all of you lovely folks out there. We should be back on stream. Yeah, back on stream here and YouTube. Not sure why, but YouTube doesn't appear to have updated. Maybe it's I think we were on a bit of a delay with YouTube. That's all. Right. Apologies, folks. This is a terrible start to the stream, but we are getting back on with it slowly but surely. I'm just going to see if I can turn our background music down a little bit so it's not becoming overpowering. Certainly don't want to hear you guys. No, it appears fine. We're not picking it up on the microphone. Yeah, so here we are with our spoopy ghosts for Halloween. Look at this. I'm attempting to do a little bit of a test model project period here, where we try and hammer out a few of these different designs just to see if we can settle on a project, a way to continue with this project. So basically what I've got here is I've got a few bases that we're going to work with. I think for completeness' sake, what I'm going to do very, very first, although no, that will ruin a brush, won't it? I can afford to ruin a brush for a little bit. We can wash it out later. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bad boy here with an absolutely colossal brush, and I'm going to just go and dunk him straight into this this lovely brown mixy wash here, which should be, now that I've taken away some of the base liquid, it should be nice and thick. Look at that, lovely thick. It's not actually that thick. It's not as thick as I wanted it to be. Let me give it a shake. God, we are not prepared here. So this is basically oil paint in a jam jar with a bunch of white spirit. And what we're going to do is just plonk that onto this model, literally just slop it all on. And the reason being is this will become obvious once we get started, and those of you who are in and around the hobby will know exactly what we're doing here. This is an oil wash, which is a relatively, to me, new process, but has been doing the rounds now for quite some time. And basically what you do is you slap it all on, and then you let it dry off a bit, and then you use a cotton bud or some form with spirits to wick and wash that away. Now unfortunately I have gone for the budget version of this, which involves using a very, very cheap hobby grade oil paint. I'm going to stick that in there because that's oil paint and that's not going to come off of that brush, unfortunately. So we are now kind of that brush is set to one side, possibly ruined, but it was only a very, very cheap brush in the first place, so we'll let him dry. Now what I was saying about being very, very cheap is you'll see how the paint is starting to separate, so it's not actually held that well in suspension. It will do enough for the test model, and then what I'll do is I will probably upgrade to some better quality, more expensive oil paint, maybe even a bit better quality white spirit or the like, and see if we can go that way. Now, I've got another model here that I did with an oil wash, and this one was done with a black. Now the black has come out much better. Still not perfect, but it has come out much better, so I am much happier with the way this one is coming out. You can see the effect that we've got going on here. Now what I'm going to do is I will just see if we can get a little bit extra. Oh, we ain't got far, have we? We can get a little bit of extra zoom in. Apply that. Okay. So you'll be able to see, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the light up here as well, because there we go. How this one has already dried off, and we have used a dry cotton bud to wick this away. Now this is not ideal, because what I did was I used just a plain flat white sprayed white model like this. Now unfortunately what you really need to do before doing this oil wash is gloss varnish the model, and I didn't do that, but it does give us an idea about what we'll be looking at color wise. So you know, it serves us well enough for what we're looking at here. These other couple of models have simply been slathered with Ethermatic Blue, the contrast paint. So I'm not actually a big fan of that, but we will see how that reacts when we start putting the oil washes over them. So I'm gonna have to spend a couple of sessions here doing test pieces and examples. I can't get that light any better, unfortunately. It's just gonna have to be that way. Now the other models that we've got on the table here are I have airbrushed them undercoated black, and then I took some cheap hobby acrylic and airbrushed them in an ivory sort of color. Now that's turned out absolutely shit. I don't know if it's a problem with my airbrush, the consistency that we've got the paint to, although I thought it was looking quite good. I think that it's just decided that it didn't really like the process. So I think these ones are probably a bit of a washout. However, I do quite like the black base as a starting point. And I do very much want to try and do this project with an airbrush, because I would like to actually speed up the painting process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these and I'm going to experiment with what dry brushing will bring to the table, which may not be an awful lot at this stage, but at least we will know. Now let's get a bit of paint on the brush here. Use my test palette. Okay, let's have a look. Let's take one of these and we'll start with this is Zandri Dust, and we want to work it in fairly liberally. We're not trying to keep ourselves to very neat highlights at the moment. So the idea with this project is that we want to get it done for Halloween. It's going to be a very quick, very dirty. Now, I like quick and dirty. It's just that I've never been particularly good at doing it. I always get sidetracked and end up putting far too much time and attention and other shit into models that I don't necessarily even particularly like. These models, I do actually quite like them. The reason I bought them is because they came up on Facebook Marketplace on an incredible deal. We'll go through and we'll make a little list of what we've got to paint as part of the project, because there's over 100 models as part of the project. The other thing that I didn't do when I was airbrushing is allow it to particularly dry off very well. So that's probably my biggest error there. As you can see, we've ended up with a bit too much paint up in the recesses. It didn't zenithal down onto the model properly. I'm not very happy with how it turned out. But we work with what we've got, don't we? Don't we, folks? That's what we do. So we've got one there, and I'm going to try with this one as well. Let's see if we can get enough on here to do this without having to get too much of our paint back. Yeah, so we got an absolutely great deal on Facebook Marketplace. Just cropped up. I wasn't really looking for it, and then I thought, oh, hang on, Halloween project, as you do. I am quite sure that normal folks don't do that. They tend to buy models they like or want, rather than just randomly going right ahead and grabbing any old models. Okay, so these guys here, I'm gonna try and persevere with the airbrush. I have got a new airbrush. We've ordered one. It's arrived. We'll give it a test run tomorrow, most likely. So I'm going to persevere with these ones with the airbrush. So we'll set those to one side for now. The oil-based one there, we're going to let him dry off a bit. And this oil-based one here, if I attempt to start putting normal regular paint on this before I've sealed him, we could get some troublesome reactivations and what have you. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is giving him a coat of a quick coat of spray-on varnish before we proceed any further. You'll have to excuse me, folks. I am recovering after a bit of a bout of crap, so I'm not feeling the greatest. My throat is tickling away at me, and yeah, we're probably not going to go super long tonight. Right. However, while we've got you here, we are going to try and get a little bit of progress on these guys done. I'm definitely liking the dark paint rather than the light bases. Although I think the light bases might have their they might have their place dependent upon how we go with this project. We'll have to see if there's scope for it to be done with a light base. I don't think there is. I'm hoping to actually get part of the project done with the airbrush rather than this dry brushing process, because I hate dry brushing. It's got its time, it's got its place, and that time and place is anywhere where I'm not. I've never really got on with dry brushing. It's always been, it's not that I can't do it, it's just I don't like it, and I find everyone makes it look very, very easy, where I end up with either too much paint, too little paint, and it ends up looking chalky, and I follow all the tips and tricks for how do you do it without it looking chalky, and they say, you know, don't actually dry brush. You've got to be sort of, your brush needs to be moist with paint but not enough on it, so that you know when you scrape it across your finger you don't get anything. There's all these little tips and tricks and stuff that people come up with for dry brushing, and I find none of them actually work. Every time you get into contact with the model with a different brush or whatever it is that you're using, it will always end up something different to what the YouTubers or whoever it is has explained to you. And I'm like, yep, okay, maybe that's just me. It probably is just me. You know, only been doing it for 30 years, and dry brushing is still one of those things that I do when it needs to be done, but I dread doing them and then have to normally work around what I've done. So what we're aiming for is a glow around his face, basically. We are starting to get there. Now remember, this is over a black base coat, so I don't think it's too bad. We want a spoopy ghost, but we have to be quite careful that they don't end up looking washed out. Do you know what? I think this might actually be a good opportunity to show you what some of my inspiration for this project has been. So let's see if we can pull up a source. Yo. Oh, thank you. Right, so let's see if we can pull up a source. I have two armies that are acting as a bit of inspiration at the moment. The first is this one, which is a little bit hard to see. Now, I think this is by somebody who has watched a very similar YouTube video to the one that I watched. I don't know that this is the person, because the name on Reddit doesn't seem to match with anything, although the models themselves do look very, very similar. It may be that you're familiar with this artist, or that you know something that I don't, but I think they've done an incredible job of getting a unified army feel. I think that these models look fantastic. I really, really like the simplicity of the base, with this sort of autumnal, very, very, very appropriate for this time of autumn and Halloween and what have you. So yeah, this is a potential. And the other one, which is possibly my preferred at the moment, is this. Now, I think this is possibly going to be what I like. Howdy, JB. How are you? Let me just have a quick look at this. What you got for me? What you got? Oh. And that goes in the like it and save it for later. Well, thank you very much, JB. Okay. No, I like that. As I was saying, this is I think this is my current inspiration for these guys. I just really, really like how dark this army comes across. I think there's well, thank you very much for sharing it. It's very appropriate that it comes along right when I'm struggling to dry brush anything at all. Yeah, I think this army just looks, I think it needs a little bit of work, if I'm honest with you. I think the glow where they touch the ground needs to just be jacked up a little bit. I'm not feeling bad, JB. I'm certainly on the mend. I have a feeling that what I had was COVID, because I've still got what they term as a razor blade throat, which is I can't swallow for shit. And I managed to get some medicine on Saturday where you spray it down the back of your throat. But yeah, I've been feeling sorry for myself more than anything. But yeah, we'll hopefully on the mend now. How are you? I hope you've had a good weekend. And you join us back in. Everyone got it on the bus. Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, you join us back in the land of Twitch, and YouTube actually, because believe it or not, we are back live on YouTube. So do feel free to drop us a follow or a subscribe over there. There won't be an awful lot of videos at the moment, but I am hoping that we will be able to work out something. Well, that's just the cost of the MOT then, isn't it? So that's a very good thing. So we're currently messing around with some Nighthaunts that we bought from Facebook Marketplace for an absolute steal. And in a moment, I'll go through a list of what we managed to pick up. So everyone on the bus got it. Did you manage to avoid the worst of it? Are you recovered? Are you feeling better? My missus was absolutely gutted in that she didn't give it to me. I think somebody at work. Oh, nice. So is that oil pin washed, or? Because we're going to try oil washing on these bad boys, I think. So you can see the basics of what we're going for. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, JB, because I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Basically, I've been unable to sleep. Because every single time you swallow is just absolute agony. It creates like a gut reaction in your throat, and it's just been agony. So luckily I managed to pick up some medication on Saturday, which takes the edge off of that. Okay, that's not looking terrible. Oh man, 3 hours a night. No, that's not right. That's not right. I'm a big proponent of sleep. When people say to me, "Oh, I've not been feeling right," and you say, "You haven't been sleeping, have you?" No, how did you know? Well, just call it a hunch. Anyway, okay, that white has changed things up a little bit. I quite like that. We're still not dark enough, so we've lost too much of our base color here with the initial airbrush. Now I put it down to lack of experience. The airbrush is a tool that I am slowly learning, so I'm going to encourage myself to get better with the airbrush until I have more control over what I'm doing. The thickness that we load up the paint, and yeah, that's okay. That's, if I can achieve something similar to that, with just a little bit of dry brushing. The white really does bring that out. I'm happy with that. Because then what we're going to do is, I think for our oh dear. Well, I must say I certainly need. It used to be the case that I could go without too much sleep, but nowadays I tend to be much more. I require my decent sleep. I do wish I hadn't put that brush into my water pot though, because I've now contaminated everything. That's not great. We'll be okay for this session. An Xbox 360 Reach console. Oh, is that the Halo one? Swapped a Switch I never use. Switch is something I've never got into. I've never had one. Never. But yeah, it's not a bad deal. Definitely not a bad deal. Oh, okay. Halo 3 and 4. Right, okay. I was never particularly into Halo after the first one. I spent an inordinate amount of time playing the original Halo demo in Virgin Megastore on one of their original Xbox console demo stations, and it used to be glorious. You'd be in there for like entire days of the summer holidays, running away when the shop assistant would finally come along to turf you out, and then sneaking back in to get another couple of hours worth of gameplay in, and putting all the young'uns off. Reaching ODST, I must have spent a short yeah, and so yeah, we spent an awful lot of time on the demo consoles, as it were. But yeah, had a lot of fun with that back in the day. Right, this is probably a mistake, because I'm only 30 minutes into the stream and I'm already thinking about applying an oil wash onto this model, which I think is a bit early to do this, because I'm not going to be able to do anything more with the model until we have a chance to clean it all off. But I think it will get across what we're trying to achieve, and I think if we go down this route with this sort of base technique, where we base the model, we airbrush zenithal highlights, we dry brush it, and then come along with this oil wash over the top, I think we can actually achieve quite a nice finished product from this. And we will do the entire model in this. Now, because some people say if you just get a bit more of it and just whap it on, the effect is much better pronounced, but I'm not sure. Don't know. want it to actually travel properly, so that when we come to clean it off, it looks right. Now, of course, the thing is that this will actually take us about, this will probably take 24 hours to dry properly, minimum. So I'm at actually a little bit of an impasse. I'll go and wash that brush out soon, because we've got loads of white spirit in it, which won't react very well. Pop that to one side. Okay. Now, we can start the absolute basics of this, which will be to wick away these bits. Which are around the face, although I probably should be waiting until this is dried a bit. This is not yeah, I can imagine it is. This is not something I've actually tried before. This is a new technique for me. I've seen it done, and I've wanted to try it on a couple of occasions, but I've never gotten round to it. So this is a learning curve for us all. Or at least it's a learning. You guys get to watch me learning how to do it. Now this is why I don't know if you can see that at all. Right there. That is why I should have varnished the model, because we've had a tiny little bit of where I've rubbed it. That's come away, so that's disappointing. Yeah. Trouble is, if I do that, I've got nothing to do for the rest of the stream. I was actually thinking about doing a short stream anyway tonight, but not 30 minutes short, and here's half of what we plan to do with the model. See you later, folks. I had planned a little bit more than that. It's just I haven't planned ahead particularly well for the rest of the stream. So it might be the case that we oh, I mean, there's plenty of models to do. This is hopefully us just trying out a to get a recipe for how we're going to do the rest of the army. These guys on the table, I experimented a little bit here with the Ethermatic blue, the contrast paint, which I think looks very cartoony, if I'm honest with you. And I just don't like it. I sort of did a little bit of searching online for how different people paint them, and I much prefer the sort of grim dark look. So I think we'll be heading down that route. Now, as far as the project goes, I do have quite a damn lot. Yes, it does look very, very Scooby-Doo-ish. We basically, so in our collection, we have a full spearhead, a full ethereal court. We've got all of these guys. We've got the spearhead. We then have so the Revenants and the Harridans are part of the spearhead. So we've got that box set, this box set. We have one of these Lord Executioners. We have the Craven King, Reikenor the Grim Hailer, Jamie Oliver, the Mortarch of Grief, a box of these Hex Wraiths. We have got the Spirit Torment and Chain Gas, but I think, yeah, they're part of this box. Yes, they're part of that box as well. We got 2 sets of these Banshees, a box of Spirit Hosts, a Knight of Shrouds, and then we have about 30 of these Chain Rasps, a box of Grimghast Reapers, and the Underworlds. I'm sure it's Warhammer Underworlds. Just have a quick look. There. No, not that. Warbands. Part of this set here. This one. We've got these guys as well. So there's a huge collection of minis. And I'm very, very keen on this paint scheme. So we'll be going with a sort of, I think we're going to need to work out a way to get the higher points lighter. So this one here, he was actually looking quite good until we've splurged this oil wash catastrophe over him. So yeah, I think what I'm going to need to do is experiment with the airbrush. Now this is going to be, again, it's going to be a little learning curve for myself on camera, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stream on location, as it were. We'll get set up in the shed with the airbrush, and we'll try and do a little live stream from there. I'm not sure how it will turn out, because all we'll have to do it with will be like a mobile phone on a tripod. So it's something, but it won't be amazing. We're going to try, where possible, to push the YouTube streaming. Yeah, I'm sure it will be, JB. You know, it's definitely, it's not like we're a completely professional outfit that is setting the world alight. So I'm sure for what we do, it will be absolutely fine. Now, let's have a look at what else we've got here. We could try and achieve a similar sort of effect with contrast paint, couldn't we? These have been sprayed, but I don't think they've been sprayed very well. This is how they came, by the way. There's a real mix in there. Some of them were unpainted, some of them were painted. Pretty much everything apart from this guy was intact, but as I've got about 40 of these chain rasps, I don't think we're going to miss one for an experiment on how we paint. Now, as I said, I'm going to try and see if we can get a better application of this light colour, because what I'll eventually want to do is very similar to the sample ones that I showed you, where we've got sort of a brighter face petering out to dark, and then just a glow where any of this sort of ectoplasmic shreds touches the ground, will do a little glow, which I think would be quite nice. If I could, I'd see about getting a little glow in each of the eye sockets, but I don't think that. JB, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Like I say, I have neglected YouTube a little bit over the last few months, but there is I think there's space for us to get out there and start broadcasting, and I will start making some little videos as well, because I really do feel that was working quite well while we were gaming, and then obviously we've sort of neglected that quite a bit since then. Now, while I was off, I did manage to bring myself to empty a few more of my Citadel pots into dropper bottles. I know they're met with mixed opinions, but it's all right. Some of you can be wrong. Now let's see if this is going to let us paint over without going absolutely nuts. Yeah, this is going on, but I might need to varnish this to keep the interaction between the oil paint and the acrylic out of the way. Let's try it with a slightly larger brush, slightly better. Okay, so it's going to be possible to get a decent quick job even with a brush. And that's what we're looking for with this, is going to be a decent quick job. The whole project, we've got where are we now? We are the 6th, so we have 24 days. Wow, I hadn't actually thought about it this way. We have 24 days to paint nearly 100 models, and all of our works will be done on stream, so none of this goofing off and painting in the background where you guys can't see it. The whole project will be done on stream. There's no hour limit. We're not going to set ourselves an hour limit, so if we get to a Friday and we do want to take a little bit of extra time. We're feeling like we've got some stamina, which I can't guarantee it, but you never know. The crazy might happen. Then we can turn around and do a bit of a longer stream. But yeah, in general terms, it's going to be what, 24 days to do 100 models? Yeah, we've got this. We've got this. We want a process that can be finished quite fast, churn them out, and end up with another army. Once we're done, we'll see what we're going to do with it. I think this one will probably end up on eBay. Now, we did get an exceptionally good deal on this one, so it wouldn't be particularly hard to turn a profit, but who knows, it might be quite nice just to see if anybody wants to buy my shit. I doubt it, but there might be someone dumb enough. And it's not that I wouldn't want to keep them, it's just that I'm not allowed. I've been told multiple times now, you're not keeping more of that shit in the house. So the condition of going out and buying more models was sell some of what you've got. No, I'm only joking. She doesn't know I went and bought them. So obviously what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep the highlights harsher and less it's more scraggly as we get further down, just because when we come back we might actually paint a wash over the top of this guy, because I'm quite liking where the hold on, why am I not using my... Look at this, I've got a painting handle here that I could be using. Why am I not? Oh, that's so much better. How did I live without a painting handle, I wonder? Okay, so Spoopy Ghost. Well, we've got the white down. Now, what do we do with that white to bring us to a happy place where we will feel it's grim dark? Because I quite like the way that's starting to look. But we need to tone it, don't we? Now again, the problem I'm going to have is as soon as I touch the contrast paints aren't as bad as oil paints, obviously, but they are still a bit of a nightmare because they just don't dry. They take forever to dry. So let's grab this. Let's grab our contrast medium as well. And then our bit of Aethematic Blue. Aethematic Blue, what a wonderful name. Not sure I terribly like the colour. Now we're thinning this, so hopefully with it being thinned, yeah, it's not quite as overpowering as the last lot was. So we can try and get some sort of spectral oogly boogliness all up in there without going full on Scooby-Doo blue. Oh, he's a spooky ghost. So yeah, hopefully we can try and mask that cartoonishness with keeping it a bit more subtle. I will do the underrobes and the ghosty hands, but the do I? What do we do? Do we paint the ghosty skull as well? Thank you, JB. I hope you have a lovely evening of kidship. Not literally, that would be wrong. But yeah, take care, my friend. Have a good evening. And we'll see you on the next one. We'll be back on shit. When will we be back on? Wednesday? No, can't remember. Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow, probably. Fingers crossed. All going to plan. Right. See, now that does look a bit more ethereal than how we previously had it, didn't it? Now I don't know whether we leave the face white or we paint it blue. Let's try painting it blue, as in ghosty, because this is our experimental phase where we try just chucking a few things at it and seeing what sticks mostly. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Live with that. Right, we'll pop that one to one side. Now, what have we got here? We've got one of these bad boys. Okay, so this one will give us an opportunity to see what Wraithbone dry brushed over the sort of Xandri dust that we had, and then with a little bit of our favourite painty bit that we were doing, painted over the top. So we'll come along and just slippy slop it on. Bearing in mind that we've got an enormous amount of these to do, so we're not going to be wanting to take more time than we have to on any one stage of this. Now, it's quite important because, as I say, I am a terrible speed painter, in that every time I set myself a project, I will always find something else that needs to be done on a model, and I'll go, no, we're not including that, we're not doing that, that's not part of the remit or the sample model that we came up with, and then we still end up doing it because I'm a glutton for stupid punishment. So this project is going to be as much an experiment in discipline as it is in painting an army. So hopefully this is something we can actually achieve. So by Halloween 2025 we will have an army of Nighthaunts to show off. So I did the sums on this, and if you were to buy all of the stuff brand new from Games Workshop, it would have set you back over 400 quid. You know, nice simple round number. We won't go into the details of exactly how much, but it's over 400 quid. So do I have any guesses as to what we paid for it? And this wasn't we bid him down, this is what he listed it at, and we just went there, paid it, and said thank you very much, have a great evening. This was yesterday. I'll tell you now, the guy wanted to get out of the hobby. He said, you know what, it's not for me. I said, that's a good decision to make, my friend. Stick with it. Don't come back. Be strong, Clarence. Be strong. You can do it. You can stay away. 100 quid. 100 quid for it, and most of them haven't been painted. They're all assembled, which is good because I hate assembly of plastic models. I hate assembly of all models, but plastic models especially, because plastic models normally require a shitload of assembly. Especially this new Games Workshop fad of creating monstrosities of, 12 different pieces of plastic for each model that can't go any other way. They can only be assembled in one way, and that just drives me up the bloody wall, because it's like we've gone backwards. And the whole reason that they've done it, anybody want to guess? Because I guarantee you, if your answer is to be scumbags and not stop piracy, it's not to stop piracy, it's to stop people producing add-ons for their models. So they make it so that each individual part is so complicated, so complex, so overly designed that if you were to create add-on parts for Games Workshop models, you would be it would be, so to create an additional gun, or to create a variant gun, you would have to sculpt it in with an included arm and a quarter of the opposite arm plus a bit of shoulder pad, and then the neck as part of it. That's why they make the cuts on these models so overly complicated. And I just think it's an absolutely abysmal practice that has, I mean, they've been working on it for years as a way to restrict the aftermarket, so the sale of aftermarket add-ons to their miniatures. That's why everything is so overly complicated now when it comes to their models, and it is just purely because they got burnt. They tried to sue somebody for making add-on parts for Space Marines and or I think the specific one was the Rhino, the tank, was the actual lawsuit that they got told to get bent in. So after that lawsuit that they brought against somebody else, they brought the lawsuit against somebody else. Part of the judgment went their way, and the other people were found to be infringing, but part of the judgment went against Games Workshop, and they were told to that no, they couldn't stop people from making add-on parts to their models because that's derivative, and people were adding value to their models, and so they basically their resolution was to make it so that their models would be so complex that it would not be worth anyone's time to create add-ons for. So, as I say, if you want to sell a replacement bolt gun, you have to expect your customers to cut the original bolt guns off of the models, and that's a huge barrier to entry for most hobbyists, because most hobbyists are literally, they will see these push fit models and they will go, and that's the limit of their involvement when it comes to modeling. So if you wanted this guy to carry a bolt, you know, if you wanted this squad to carry a bolt gun, the weapons are no longer separate items that you would just not put them on and put a bolt gun on instead from this aftermarket company. So now they would have to have, you would have to either cut that off, and you can even see that weapon is difficult to cut off because the chain is very integral to it. The pose is very difficult to do anything with, and that's the whole reason behind why they did it. And I personally, I find that disgusting. It's an absolute shocking. It's shit. Should never be allowed, but it is. What can you do? I want to see. I want to see how contrast paint goes over this oil wash that we put on. I don't think it'll be great, but let's try it, shall we? What have we got to lose? We're here for a good time, not a long time. Oh dear, I can tell it's my first time in front of the camera for a little while, because I immediately feel like shit. That's right, folks, we have been battling the lurgs. Do feel better now, but only enough to go to work, so it's like not being better at all. Right, we're just going to take some of this straight from the pot and gloop it over and see what happens with that oil-based paint underneath. Wow, that actually goes on quite nicely, doesn't it? So I often see people paint these with a brown robe. I don't know whether it means they've, you know, they envisage that the guy died in a sack or something. See, so that area there has got quite a lot of oil on it, and I can't. Yeah, this will, I think, definitely need to be sealed. So I'm trying to work out a stage to do model, although that actually does come up looking quite leathery, doesn't it? I must say, snakebite leather isn't the worst colour I've ever come across. Getting inside the models is a bit awkward. But once you're viewing them from tabletop and what have you, it's not too bad, is it? I don't think I like that for our grander colour scheme though. That's not filling me with joy, and we would certainly need to do something else with the order of painting. So we can't come along and paint this with our oil based before we do a contrast straight over the top. We'll have to see about sealing it somehow to stop this water over oil peel back that you get. Okay, well it's something there. Now he's not got an awful lot of the lower cloth stuff with him at all, has he? Let's see. So this is one of the the models that we kind of butchered with an airbrush earlier. The airbrush was misfiring quite badly, and it just covered everything with the sort of ivory colour that we were using, and it's not come out brilliantly. So just as an experiment, what I think I'll do is I'll try this with some quite dark underrobes. On here. Although that does mean we'll need to try and get inside, doesn't it? Because we managed to get ivory paint inside. We need to just tone that back a bit. The colour, I think, looks too substantial for the wispy ectoplasmic-y crap that it's supposed to be as it gets down close to the ground. So I don't think that's right, but we'll finish that one off. Because what I have seen done is where people have faded a black into the bottom of these robes with quite nice effect. We might be able to do something like that. Let's grab the black now and see if we can blend it in a little. Not that one. That's not the one. The one. There it is. Hi Lucian, sorry if I didn't see you there. I do tend to get a little bit focused, but yes, death by sack. Not necessarily that he died from the sack, but it's just he was in a sack when he died. Right, let's have a little look and see if we can feather this down to sort of black by the bottom of it. Don't know that I like that an awful lot. See, that's the other thing that I have seen. I have seen people paint the ends of these into a black, so it's like they are appearing from the shadows, which I love as a concept, but as an actual pulling it off, I don't think they all managed to do that. Okay, let's have a look. How are we getting on here? Can we blend that in? I think we might need a little bit of the medium in order to achieve a blend. Yeah, I do tend to get a little bit lost in it. Yeah, we're teetering on the edge of a plan. We haven't quite got there just yet. We have some ideas about what we want to achieve. Oh, that's not worked at all. I'm not putting that straight on the model because then I'll get another brush dirty, but let's have a... Wow, that's come out terribly. Yeah, we've got some plans for the whole army. This is an experiment for the month of October in the run-up to Halloween. I managed to pick up an army dirt cheap in a Facebook marketplace, and we're going to run with it and do ourselves a little bit of a challenge to paint this entire army before Halloween, which I think would be quite good fun. We have a bit of inspiration. Yeah, you see, I've always looked at them and thought, and then I took a proper look the other day and went, oh, actually, they've got some really, really nice stuff going on. It's just a case of, if you can look over the over-designed, CAD programmed flounciness and just look at the models rather than how they were made. Now I think Jeff is going to try and eke out his pound of flesh from you guys, so I'm going to pop you over to this screen just briefly. So we have a couple of options when it comes to these guys. So I'm very much liking this style. I think that's a really, really nice look to these models. Or alternatively, we have these guys. And now I'll leave you on an ad break. Okie dokie, I think everyone's back from their Jeff tax. Haven't got too much longer in us tonight. I am flagging a bit, like I say. I've been a bit unwell of late, and so we're just going to see if we can get some colour on the metals of this guy. And then we will probably look at ending relatively early and get prepped for going again live tomorrow. Don't want to take it out of ourselves too much. Oh, I've got a bit too much paint on my brush there, I reckon. So yeah, these models are absolutely lovely now I've had a chance to have a proper look at them, and perfectly thematic for what we're proposing to do. I mean, to be honest with you, that was the reason when I saw them come up, I thought, ooh, here's an opportunity. We can both buy some lovely models, we can have a break from our lovely but starting to become a bit repetitive Eldar, so we get a chance to paint something a bit different, so we can have a little project, a bit of a break, a little bit of everything rolled into one. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, thank you very much, Lucian. I really do appreciate it. It's just been a bit of a stinking cold. Well, I say a stinking cold. It's been a bit COVID-y, to be honest with you, as my missus is, desperate to keep informing me. Oh, well, you have had COVID. Well, you have had COVID. And I'm like, it's just a cold. Just a cold. Okay, so obviously all the metal will then be hit with, well, actually I have ordered some interactive rust. Yeah, it's a great chance to, so before we started the Eldar project, we did ourselves a bunch of test models. I think I ended up painting like 12 of them in total on stream before we actually started, because we were like, yeah, we definitely want to make sure we're doing the right thing with this. And then whilst we have taken those models and mostly painted them as we intended, there have been a bunch of them that we've gone above and beyond. And then of course once you do it with one, you feel like you've got to do it with all of them. So it's a bit of a sort of funny, we're in a bit of a funny place with the Eldar at the moment. We're not giving up on them for sure, because they've taken 30 years to get to this stage, but I think a little break this month where we get a chance to paint something different, have a little bit of fun with it, prove that I'm not just an old grognard who can only paint the old models, which I'm not actually convinced about myself, to be fair. So maybe this is sort of a voyage of discovery of ourselves. You're not just the ancient models, Fluent Code. You're more than your 30-year-old shit. Plus, I have been trying to paint the Eldar in a very, very bright, clean, clinical fashion. And I think just turning around and going, yeah, let's slap some rust on it, will be a nice little break for us. You all feel sorry for this guy who died while in the stocks, don't you? But yeah, you're going to be lugging that shit around with you forever. Sorry, bud. I might need to make a bit of effort to go back and clean these models up, because there is a bit of mould lines and what have you on it here and there. Although, when it comes to just getting them done, it might be best to just get them done rather than faff around with. How's that fade looking? There's a bit of a greenish tinge in there, but I do quite like the way that's sort of come along. It's not terrible. The way it fades down to black at the end of the cloaks. Yeah, there's definitely a greenish tinge in there where we've added the medium to the half-dried brown. Don't think that was the right thing to do. We could have probably layered that a bit more efficiently. We could have taken some brown, added a bit of black to it and worked our way up. That is, for us, it for tonight. I'm going to let this lot dry off. I'll see what I've picked, where we've got to tomorrow. Like I say, this is a little bit of experimental for the next sort of session or so, and then hopefully we'll hit the ground running when it comes to the actual project, and we'll have a bunch of a real plan about how we achieve each of these models when it comes to it. I do hope you'll join me on the next stream. I think we'll go live tomorrow now, so that will be our next one, and then we will probably be live Friday and maybe even a day over the weekend, because we're just that committed to this new project. I hope to see you all there. Take very good care of yourselves, folks, and until next time, toodaloo.